Okay, hey everyone, Mr. K here again. We are back to our fastener identification. If you're watching this and this is the first type of the slideshow you're looking at, you should probably go back to the previous day because this is part 2. So for previous one, we talked about bolts, nuts, washers, different types of bolts, different types of screws, washers, nuts, lock nuts, all that good stuff. This time we're talking about rivets, fittings, and clips and pins. This is kind of a culmination of oddball stuff that doesn't really fit in anywhere else. So that we just kind of jumbled it in here, but it's all important stuff. It's stuff you're going to see if you're working on cars, trucks, boats. So we're going to talk about it. Okay. What kind of rivet is this? Hopefully you're thinking pop rivet. Pop rivet's kind of the street name for it. Probably more the proper name for it is actually a blind rivet, because you don't have to access the other side of the metal that you're riveting together to use this. All you have to do is access this side. Probably the most common type of rivet out there in the general world, or for do-it-yourselfers, homeowners. Not used a whole lot on aircraft, trailers, boats, that type of thing, but definitely used at home for repairs. And of course, the best part about it is all you need is a $15 rivet gun from Lowe's to do it. Okay, at this point in time, stop my video and go ahead and punch this into your URL, or go ahead and search this on YouTube. But it's just a little quick demo about how pop rivets work. It's kind of neat. Okay, at this time you should have watched that pop rivet video, and we're moving on. All right, what kind of rivet is this? Plain rivet, also called a solid rivet. Okay, this one, you do have to access both sides of it to be able to use it. And when you watch this video in a minute, you'll see that. Used on aircraft, aluminum trailers, boats, semis, building bridges, building huge structures, skyscrapers. It's more of a heavy duty rivet, and it's also cheaper to make, cheaper to use. The downside of it is you need some more expensive equipment to be able to use it, because you actually have to smash that end of it once you put it through the materials that you're trying to lock together. So this is a rivet gun. This is one of the smallest varieties of rivet guns, but this is what you'd use to pound something like that together. At this point, go ahead and stop this video and type in hot riveting, or go to that URL and watch the demonstration on how rivets are installed into an automobile frame. Okay, you should have just watched that video. That was a use of plain rivets in that video. Oh, and by the way, when you smash the backside of that rivet, that's called bucking the rivet. There's the word right there. Okay. So if you hear, especially the big thing in the aircraft mechanic world, guys say we got to go buck rivets all day. They're going to go, they're riveting skin on an aircraft. All right, what kind of fitting is this? Barbed fitting. Okay. Use connect rubber hose to a variety of things. Typically made of brass, sometimes stainless steel, sometimes plastic. And I just threw an example there. There's barb fitting on a carburetor. It's found in a lot of places, but that's just one example. Okay. This fitting would be a pipe fitting. Okay, so you might be saying, well, how do I know if it's a pipe fitting versus looking at this? You know, it looks kind of like a screw or a thread. It could be some kind of weird, strange screw or something. How do I know that's a pipe fitting? If you look closely at pipe fittings, they're actually more like a funnel shape. Okay, so it actually gets narrower towards this end, and it's fatter over here. You got to look closely, but and they're not compatible with a screw or a bolt. You cannot take a bolt and thread it into this fitting, and you cannot take this fitting and thread it into a nut. It's a totally different thread. Okay, I think I put that on here. Of course, found on transmission cooling lines, water pump connectors. The big thing is you'll probably see it as axle and transfer case oil plugs. Okay, this is an NPT thread, National Pipe Thread, not the same as a bolt or a nut. All right, there's a special way to connect these. You guys are going to do this in class, but go ahead and pause this video now and punch this in, or watch or search on YouTube for this, how to make threaded pipe connections. They're going to talk to you about pipe dope and pipe tape. So go ahead and watch that at this time. All right, you should have just watched that video on how to connect pipe fittings together, and we're moving on. And you will do that in class. What type of fitting is this? Grease fitting. Okay. You're going to find these on I shouldn't say anything that moves in a car, but you're going to find these on a lot of wear items in a vehicle. They didn't use them much on newer cars. Manufacturers just don't want to pay to install a grease fitting. So instead, it comes from the manufacturer with everything greased. And then after 100,000 miles, when this grease all starts drying up and gets contaminated with water and moisture, then this joint goes bad, and they just want you to take it back to the dealer and spend $300 and have that replaced. Whereas older cars, you can actually grease that every year or every 6 months, and you can maintain these fittings for perhaps up to 1 million miles, I would argue. And of course, this is just a quick connect. So you can stick your grease gun on there and grease that fitting. If you haven't done that yet, don't worry, we'll do it in class. All right. Again, culmination of random things here. Cotter pin, also called a cotter key. Okay, that's what it looks like in raw form when you buy it. Once you use it, it's going to look like one of these. Which one is done correctly? I'm asking you that. Okay. It is this one. What this guy did is I've not seen that in any book. I've never been taught to do it that way. I've always been taught to do it this way. Okay. This is the correct way for cotter keys, how to install them. He's installing it on a castellated, or a castle nut is what these nuts are called, that have these grooves in them. So you can use a castle nut with a cotter key. These are found on axles, typically steering components. Okay, another video for you. Go ahead and watch this, how to retain a bolt. Go ahead and punch that in and watch that. Okay, hopefully a lot of stuff in that video was review for you on how to retain a bolt. We're going to jump ahead to spring clips, or hitch pin clips, or hairpin clips, whatever you want to call them. I'm sure there's other names for them too. But you see these a lot more on farm equipment, things like that. Just a quick disconnect method to get a pin out. Aha! These guys, I'm sure you fought with these at one point in time. Speed nut, or a U-nut, or a nut plate. What this is you find them on in different parts of the body and frame, but you find them a lot under the hood with thin metal, not real high load stuff. So like holding on, you can see this is holding on the radiator. There's probably a speed nut behind that. You'll find them with, again, here's looks like a voltage regulator holding on, or possibly a horn relay. Holding it on, and behind there might be a speed nut. Okay, they're fast, they're cheap. Companies like to use them. Light duty stuff. This, we could spend days going over different types of fasteners from different companies for interior work, but this is just a rough idea of them. Okay. Also called door panel clips, push pins, interior clips, whatever you want to call them. I'm gonna tell you right now that most of them you're gonna encounter are probably gonna look something like this top right photo, where they're plastic. They got these little fins on them. They're not threads. They're just little fins. You push them in, you use them once, and when you pop them out, these all shred off, and you got to buy new ones. These are typically older cars. I'm talking like 80s and older for these types of clips from what I've seen. Okay, almost done here. Snap rings. Circlips, another name I've heard for them. Wrist pin clips, another way. Okay, found on U-joints, wheel bearings. Okay, shafts, things that spin. Not all these are going to look the same Some of them are going to look like this. Some are going to have holes in them. Here is a set of pliers. You should own something like this in your toolbox. Okay, you're not going to be able to work on snap ring. Well, you can work on snap rings without these, but it's not going to be fun. At this point in time, go ahead and punch this into your browser or search for this on YouTube and watch this video. It talks about working with snap rings. Okay, should have watched that video. Now go ahead and complete your assignment on Fastener ID Part 2. Thank you and have a good day.